Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit Zappy here, back again with Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Season 1. We are on episode 16, and in the last episode, again, it was another standalone episode. I feel like we've gone through about like 5 standalone episodes in a row. There hasn't been a complex one in forever, so whether or not this is one, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, in the last episode, it was more something I can actually talk about in a pre-discussion for Ghost in the Shell. In regards to obviously talking about what happened last episode. Normally it's like there's no point because the standalone ones don't really you know what I mean, like they don't carry on or correlate to like the overarching story in a way, only like little character developments and stuff. But the last episode in particular was an interesting one and probably my favourite standalone episode because it dealt a lot with the Tachikomas and their sort of the way that they have advanced over the course of the series, where their AI is just being like continuously learning and everything, and they've started to like become mischievous and curious, and you know what I mean, they're getting to the point now where it's like they have all of these like individualistic tendencies, you know what I mean, and they all like sort of think differently and everything like that, even though they're one sort of you know, complete package kind of thing, all of them together. So you know what I mean, with all of them being like synchronized and everything but being like sort of individualistic, the Major decided to suspend them, and it's kind of unclear whether or not they I mean, I feel like they're not going to be in use anymore because of the conversation that the Major had with Bato, which is sad, and whether or not that continues on. I mean, I feel like it's going to affect Bato more. Like, Bato is not going to be the same from now on in regards to everything like that. It seems like him and the Major might be a bit like at odds, maybe, and that will be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in this next episode. But yeah, I mean, this is the first standalone episode that I feel like will have, you know, different like sort of connotations going forward, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that in episode 16. So yeah, nothing else really to talk about. If you do want to go actually watch the reaction, link is in the description. There's also a link to the full length there if you do want to watch it in full and not just the 10-minute cut version, then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else really to talk about, so we're going to get into episode 16 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 16. Right, another episode dedicated around Bato, but I'm really enjoying Bato. Like, his character development, like, really is really like coming through in these standalone episodes. Because at this point he's had 3. I mean, less so. It's like more like, you know, the last episode with the Tachikomas. It's still centered around Bato and the way that he feels about it. You know what I mean? It's like. But like, he had that one with the whole guerrilla warfare thing, and the guy who was still stuck in that, you know, mode, and so you had all of that came back to him, and then this one in particular where it's like everything's just coming, everything's like not going well for him at the minute. Everything that has just fallen on him is just like, right, he has to get rid of these Tachikomas, which he's not happy about. And then this guy that he was a fan of, I mean, alluded to the fact that, especially at the end there, that he like threw the fight, for whatever reason that would be. But I mean, the guy said, I didn't write down his name, I wish I did. It was like Zaitsev or something like that. He said, you know, like, there's a blind spot in my heart, so I think it's implied that he threw the fight, but then it's like, it's just one of those things where it's just like the guy that he looked up to, that Bato looked up to, wasn't the person he thought he was. And it's weird because I guess in the end that was the same for me as well, because while I was watching the episode, it was like I was getting that feeling that, like, you know, I said during the reaction, like, why do I get the feeling that he's a nice guy that's been like roped into stuff, and you know, he's been dragged into something. But in the end, it wasn't even that. It was like, what I assume is that he just made it to essentially just get money, which is interesting because you would think that, like, considering the fact of how good he was, then he wouldn't have to worry about that. But you know what I mean? I mean, but I don't know. I guess what it was, yeah, I don't know, because the whole thing must have been a fake conversation that he had with Bato when he was in his house, and he was talking about how that ruined my life, kind of thing. I guess in a way it was true, but not like for the reasons that I think like he's talking about. Like it ruined like when he was talking about it ruined my life, and he was talking about it then, he was saying it with the implication that he didn't lose on purpose. But then he went into this whole thing with, this, the coffee beans and everything like that. But all of that, like, just sort of like underground shit is what kind of ruined his life in a way. It does make me think that kind of, like, he regretted the choice to go into that sort of line of work, I suppose you could say. There could be that there. There could be that like little bit there that he regretted that. Because I don't know, like, I want to believe the guy when he says that, like, I've never really had any friends here, and it's like he finds that with Bado. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just it's a really nice a rounding of Bato's character. I think these episodes. I mean, I've said previously in the past that like Togusa's like up there. He's probably like my favorite character. Bato is like, after this episode, he's like kind of up there as well, level, because I guess up until this point, aside from obviously the guerrilla warfare thing episode that he had, aside from that, a lot of it has been very, I guess, humor based, and he's kind of been that kind of character, like used for comedic relief a lot of the time. But he's had like most of the because I think Bato's like mostly prosthetic, right? He's either mostly or he's all prosthetic. But he has, alongside Togusa, like, he is really, like, very human, like, stories, and, like, the way that he acts is very human, I feel like. And I guess that's, the whole thing with Ghost in the Shell. From these 16 episodes that I have watched, it seems that the whole overarching, like, question of the show is, like, very human. Like, it's like, what constitutes being a human with all of this cybernetic enhancement and technology that's in the world. So, and I think Bato is kind of like almost at the center of that, because he's the one character, you could say the major, really, because she's obviously the icon, I guess, of the show, right? And she's the one that is truly fully cybernetic. But I feel like she is, at least up until this point, she is in a place of work. Like, her job as, and rank makes her have to, I guess, it forces decisions on her that she has to make objectively and not subjectively. So emotion doesn't really get thrown into it a lot with her. So therefore, it's an interesting sort of dynamic of, like, it's not that she's cold. It's just that she's, like, for the sake of, her job, what she has to be, you don't get to see a lot of emotional moments with her. So, I guess Bato does take that sort of mantle of the guy who is fully cybernetic. He sees he treats, full on robots, as if they were actually living things. And he's sad when they go. I think that when the Tachikomas were singing that little like poem or nursery rhyme or whatever it was, because I've never heard it before, but the way that the Tachikomas were speaking about it, about like a girl that was, taken abroad and everything like that, that it's very symbolic of what is happening to the Tachikomas. You know what I mean? Like they're being taken away from what they considered home to the lab, and they weren't too bothered by it. I think it was because at the end of last episode they were told, we're not going to be scrapped. So as long as they're not going to be scrapped, I guess that's fine in their eyes. But yeah, I mean, it's still going to be tough because regardless of what is going to happen to them at the lab, their individualistic qualities that they do have are going to be erased, right? Like, it's like they're going to be reset at least and reworked. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough for Bato seeing him like that, but it's just this bittersweet thing of me watching the show being like, I think Bato needed this for his character, and it's enjoyable to watch, like, him go through this. I love it when characters are so. I love it when you get a character that looks on the surface for like a long period of time across the show that looks so not one-dimensional, but like they could have a certain quality about them that just sees them that way. Like, Bato being, like I said, like comedic relief. He's very much like in that sort of that's generally his personality, and he sees things a lot in the positive. But then having them have to deal with a certain situation or something that causes them to not be able to be them like what they usually are, and something gets brought out of them that's very like impactful to them as a character and makes you see them in a different light. But I've made a note like recently that I don't want to keep bringing up Bakugo and everything because I did it a lot, but yeah, I mean, it's the same sort of thing. It's like something that is so like what can be considered like, oh, that's just his deal and that's all it is. There's a lot of baggage, I guess, that comes with it, but then it's sort of similar to like comedians in general. You'll find that like a lot of comedians are that way because they do hold a lot of baggage. So a lot of their they play things off as jokes to offset all of that negativity that's been surrounding them. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's the way Bato is, purely because of all of that shit. So yeah, but Bato is really interesting right now. And I love the fact that the first episode, this being the first episode, that the standalone actually correlated into the next episode, which I was wondering if that was going to happen. It actually did. So it was. This is like a two-parter almost, standalone, which I really liked. And going forward, it is definitely going to be interesting, like, to see generally how he acts. I don't particularly I hope it isn't a thing where it comes back, like, regardless of next episode, if it's a complex or a standalone. I want this to linger. I want Bato to be like, to go through all of this, and I'm thinking like it has to be. I think it has to be Major Kusanagi that'll have to like have a talk with him, so that that she can bring him back round. Because at the end of the day, she was the one that decided that to suspend the Tachikomas. Now, no matter how, like, irregardless of how right she was to do that, because of the possible implications of what could happen, she did notice. Like, Bato wasn't happy, right? She did notice. And again, it's that thing with her, because of her rank and where she is, like, she can't afford to be very emotional about things. She has to be objective. So, but there has to be just, like, I think something from her, because I mean, Tagusa being there, he's like his, mate in a way, like they tend to partner up all the time. He can be obviously there for his mate, but I feel like something has to come from Motoko herself. It will be interesting, like, going forward, if there's ever like a question between them, like if Bato like really like loses the plot or something and like just really like goes at the Major like hard, and it's like something like he's like I can picture him saying something like like, do you have a, what I mean, it's like you don't even have a heart, or like doing something that would like cross the line to her of like, what I mean, like you're practically like just a lifeless corpse in that like metal body or something like that. I could see like something like that happening, because the feeling I get from the show regarding Major Kusanagi is like she is questioning that whole thing of like of being a human but then being this cybernetic but like just being in this like cybernetic body and everything like that, and like who she really is. I think you get a lot of that consider like with the opening of the show, like it's all centered around Major Kusanagi, and you get the little tidbits of her breaking her like favorite toy and stuff, and because she was obviously putting that when she was a kid, it's obviously something that pains her or something that's always on her mind. So you can see like if Bato was to like say something like that, then it would really hurt her feelings. And then from that, she can actually be emotional about that, and then the talk can come. Like I can imagine the story going somewhat that way, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I've got. I don't think there's anything else that I really need to talk about in regards to the episode. I just really like everything regarding Zaitsev, or whatever the hell his name was. That was like kind of put the back for me in this episode. It was more just Bato dealing with everything that was going on, like everything that was going on in his head. That's what this episode was all about for me. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. I feel sorry for the woman, the wife. Like it's just not good. Like, what I mean, this woman's brought out, something she made herself, and you're just like, no, let's go. Like, it's just like, damn, man. It's like, that's just a horrible way to treat your wife, man. So I really, really feel for her. What I mean? And she even, sought out Bato to give a bottle to him to share with his wife. It's not really his wife, And I mean, that's the thing as well. The interesting thing, I think, between Bato and Major Kusanagi is like Bato seems to be like, I mean, he plays it off as a joke, but I really wonder if he does actually feel something for Major Kusanagi, because there's been a couple times, I mean, or maybe like a few times where he's passed off like a little comment, that would implicate that he wants to go on a date with her or something like that. And Major Kusanagi shuts him down. And again, that's that whole thing of like, she is in that state of mind where it's like she won't, because she can't. The position that she's in, I feel like, just means that she has to cut off that emotional like attachment to anything, really, So I could see like Bato coming to it, like, and her coming to a head. And if Bato was to say something that really would affect her, then that would be the turning point that could actually get some emotion out of her, which could then obviously turn around and then bring Bato back to to who he was before. But we'll have to just wait and see on that. But yeah, I mean, again, I really enjoyed this episode, just for, you know, Bato's character development and everything like that. So yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. You can get access to episodes 17 and 18 right now if you become an early access tier on my Patreon. So if you don't want to wait until next week to get the next 2 episodes, then become an early access tier patron. There's also the full-length tier patron if you want to watch any of these reactions in full and not just the 10-minute version, and then there's the exclusive tier which gives you access to movie reactions and things when I start reacting to movies. So yeah, you can you know, go have a look at those, see what they offer in detail, and then there's also a link to the Discord down in the description as well. But yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.